Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hello, everybody. My name is Tony. I am the T of TLC Landscape Services. And like Pam was saying, California has been in a 3-year drought. Sacramento's put many restrictions on watering. I'm here just to help give you a couple ideas and a couple tips. If you have a lawn, if you have plants and trees and shrubs that you want to water, I'm going to show you how you not to waste water, how to conserve water, and then how to play by the rules under the guidelines from Sacramento County. So first and foremost, what you need to do to have an efficient watering system, I don't know if everybody can see this, but you need to have these, and these are called anti-siphon valves. Most houses here have them in Sacramento area, but there's still some out there that just have the manual hand crank. And there's still some houses out here that have the galvanized pipe that you have the big fork that turns them on. Those are not anti-siphon. Anti-siphon means what it does, it helps prevent water from the lawn or the drip from backing up and contaminating water inside the house. That's all anti-siphon means. So if you do not have one of these or something similar to this, you may want to upgrade it and get one that's a little bit more efficient. Number two, on your watering system, if you do have valves, you do have sprinklers, you need to do this. You need to make sure that the valve is always 1 foot higher than the sprinkler. And the reason you do that is if the sprinkler is a foot higher than the valve, when the water shuts off, the water has nowhere to go but back into the valve, which could cause problems, leaking, and back it up into the house. So you always want to make sure you have the valve 1 foot higher than the sprinkler. And when the sprinkler cuts off, it has nowhere to go but down in where the sprinkler is. So keep that in mind. Always have the valve at least 1 foot higher than the highest sprinkler. Okay, next, sprinklers themselves. You need to put in sprinklers that are at least 4 inches tall, the bodies. And the reason that you do that is because a 2-inch sprinkler only rises up 2 inches. A 3-inch sprinkler only rises up 3 inches. The 4-inch sprinkler rises up obviously 4 inches. And because if you have a lawn that you haven't cut for a week or two, there's no way the sprinkler is going to rise up high enough to spit over the lawn. There's no way the sprinkler is going to rise up in a 3-inch and cover the lawn. So you want to make sure it rises up above the lawn, covers the lawn, you got coverage, and it's going to be a lot more efficient. Because with these, it's going to hit the lawn, back up, and out into either the street or the sidewalk or a gutter, and that's just a waste of water. Okay? Next is all your sprinkler systems should have what's called PVC pipe. Okay? Schedule 40 PVC pipe. You really can't see this and you can't see this, but this is class pipe. This is a cheap pipe that you do not want to use. And the reason you don't want to use this cheap class pipe is there's a lot of plants, bushes, shrubs, and even trees that if they grow down into the pipe, this will break and or at least crack. The trees, the shrubs, the bushes, if it hits the PVC schedule 40, will not crack or break. Also, if the lines are not down deep enough and you happen to be digging with a shovel, this is going to break. And you may not find out about it if it's leaking until it's too late and you're wasting water. Also, if you have somebody come out, whether it's a plumber, a landscaper like me, a gardener, or even a handyman, ask him what PVC means and see if he knows. Okay, just give him a little test. If he doesn't know what PVC means, you might want to consider getting somebody else that does know. All right. Drip and drippers. If you have plants, trees, bushes, and shrubs, you need to have what's called a pressure reducer and a filter. This gets attached to the valve. The reason you use a pressure reducer is obvious because it reduces the amount of water and amount of pressure that goes through the line out to the drippers, and it won't blow off the drippers. If you don't have this, it'll blow off the drippers at the end of the drip line. The reason you have a filter is it filters out all the debris that gets into the water line and may affect and clog up the drippers. One little secret about the filter is that if you fertilize your plants, there's a sneaky way that you can get fertilizer to the plants. And all you do is you unscrew this, as you see, this is the filter. You take a tablet of fertilizer, break it up, put it in here, screw this back on, and then when you turn on the drip, the fertilizer will be dispersed to all the plants, trees, bushes, and shrubs. Okay? There's one caveat to this. All plants, bushes, trees, and shrubs are not created equal. They use different types of fertilizer. So if you have azaleas, gardenias, rhododendrons, hydrangeas, they take a certain type of fertilizer. Roses take a certain type of fertilizer. And all the other plants take a type of fertilizer. So if you have a mixture of plants, you can't do this. What you have to do is you have to have different valves for the different type of plants. Also on your drip, you should consider using these button drippers. And this has a little red dot on the back of it. This means this dripper puts out 2 gallons an hour worth of water per dripper, okay? This little black one here puts out 1 gallon an hour dripper. All plants, bushes, and shrubs get 1 gallon an hour dripper. All trees get 2 gallon an hour drippers. So you adjust your water accordingly. Obviously, if you water for an hour, you're going to get 4 gallons of water for the trees, 1 gallon an hour for the drip. In addition to that, if you have more than 4 trees in your front or backyard, you should consider putting those on a separate valve. And the reason for that is the trees need different type of watering as opposed to the plants. In addition to that, if you have more than 50 plants in your front or backyard, you should consider dividing them up and having more than one valve to all the plants, bushes, and shrubs. And the reason you do that is the more plants you have, the more water you need, the more pressure you're using, and the more volume you're using. More than 50 plants starts to max out the valve, and you need to make sure each plant, shrub, trees get the appropriate amount of water. Okay, so 50 plants or less, use 1 valve. 50 plants or more, use 2. In addition to that, if you have vegetables that you have, if you have a garden and you have a vegetable box, that certainly should be on a separate valve, pressure reducer, and filter, because vegetables need more water than the plants, bushes, and shrubs do. So you got to isolate those and make sure they get their own water. Isolate the trees if you have more than 3 or 4, and isolate the plants. Okay, and make sure on all the plants, bushes, and all the vegetables, you put a pressure reducer and filter on there. Okay, for to maximize your lawn, the best time of day to water is usually 6 o'clock in the morning, between 6 and 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and the reason for that is if you water at nighttime, the lawn never really gets a chance to dry out. Okay, so the longer the lawn goes with water on it, the more chance you're going to get thatch, fungus, weeds, and you don't want that. So I would suggest that you water at 6 o'clock in the morning. And for lawns, all you need is 1 inch of water a couple times a week to maintain the lawn. Okay, and to determine how much 1 inch is and what the time frame on that is, you put a pie pan out in the middle of your yard, turn the sprinklers on, and then either 8, 10, 12 minutes, when that pan fills up, you got 1 inch of water, that's all you need. Okay, that's how you know you have 1 inch of water, by just turning them on, seeing how fast it fills up, and use it as your guide. Usually with Sacramento, even during the middle of the summer, you can get by with 2 times a week water and maintain the lawn. It'll be still a little stressed, but better it'd be 3 times a week and at least once or twice a day for lawn. Okay. Also, the drip, we suggest that you leave it on for the 1 gallon hour drippers 3 times a week, 45 minutes at a time. The trees, they need a deep soak in water, so usually 2 times a week for about an hour, hour and a half. Okay. Keep in mind, I know there's restrictions on sprinklers. However, in Sacramento, there are no restrictions on your drip. So you can water, drip 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it's low gallonage and you're not wasting water. So keep that in mind. There is restrictions on water for the lawn, but there are no restrictions on drip. Now, last but not least, every sprinkler system, you should have what's one of these. And what this is a ball valve. And the reason you need this is in the event that you have a leaky valve that won't shut off, you have a broken pipe that you can't fix, or you have a leaky sprinkler, you have this, you can shut this off and it shuts off the whole system. If you don't have one of these, you got to shut the water off to the house and deal with the problem then. So if you're having a party or a get together or Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, whatever, and you have an issue with your sprinklers and you do not have one of these, guess what? You got to shut the water off to the house. You got to call somebody like me to come out and fix it, and you got problems. So also keep in mind that if you have one of these in the front and not one of these in the back, and you have a problem in the back, it's not one size fits all. You got to have one in the back. If you have one of these in the back, you have a problem in the front. Shutting this off in the back is not going to solve your problem in the front. So you have to have one in the front, one in the back. Most houses have these. However, we see a lot of them that do not have these, especially the old galvanized pipes that don't have a way to shut them off except the main line to the house. Okay, so to review real quick, to have an efficient water system, you need to have anti-siphon valves, okay, to prevent water from backing up into the house. You need to have at least a 4-inch body. That way it rises above the lawn, covers the lawn. You got efficient spray and efficient coverage, okay? You need to have Schedule 40 PVC pipe. It's less likely to break, crack when it interferes with shrub roots, tree roots, or if you hit it with a shovel, okay? Drippers, for your drip line, pressure reducer, your filter. Remember, you can take this off and put fertilizer in there, and then use either 1 gallon hour dripper and or a 2 gallon hour dripper for the trees. Don't forget, if you have more than 50 trees, divide them up into 2 different valves. If you have a separate area that you do your plants, your vegetables, have that isolated on one valve, and then you'd be a lot more efficient, a lot less water. No restrictions on drip as far as watering. Time of day is usually 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning, either once or twice a day. And usually for most sprinkler systems, it's anywhere from 8, 10, 12 minutes at a time. That way it'll get you about 1 inch of water 2 or 3 times a week. And last but not least, please use a ball valve, shut-off valve, gate valve, whatever you want to call it. That way, hey, if you got an issue with pipe, valves, broken sprinklers, you can shut this off. It's isolated. You can deal with it later. That is it for me. Thanks. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.